Kia ora, good evening. I'm Hannah Wilkins. Secondary teachers walked off the job this week, taking part in rolling strike action across the country. The teachers are campaigning for better pay and conditions and want to send a message to the public after recent negotiations with the government left them frustrated.
Strong emotions being chalked along Dunedin's George Street as teachers here joined with almost 2,000 colleagues across the South Island in rolling strike action, aimed at making their voices heard by the government. Chair of the PPTA Otago region, Amanda Elwood, led local secondary and area school teachers in the protest, chanting in the octagon before walking through the central city to write messages and listen to speakers.
You can really get a visual of the feeling of our members right now.
The PPTA rejected a last-minute collective offer from the government last night, which offered pay increases of 11 to 14% over 3 years. Further south, rain couldn't deter these secondary and area school teachers as they picked up their placards for the third time this year in Invercargill. Around 50 teachers gathered at Wakena Place as part of 3 days of strike action rolling up the country. PPTA President Chris Abercrombie says they're fed up.
Teachers are frustrated. We're frustrated we have to do this. We're frustrated with the way that we're being treated by the ministry. They feel very dismissed by the ministry. And this is just about fighting for public education.
He says the latest collective offer was unacceptable and still wouldn't cover the increases in the cost of living.
We're saying, please keep our salaries up with the CPI, cost price index. Very sensible, it's been done for other areas. Why are the government not offering this to secondary teachers?
Strike action continues tomorrow in the lower North Island, with the upper North Island walking off the job on Thursday before the PPTA meet to discuss their next steps. Across the South Today.
Death by 1,000 cuts is what some of the signs read at Otago University's Dunedin campus earlier this week, as hundreds of frustrated staff members marched as part of a stop work meeting.
Colourful signs and chanting ringing through the university courtyard.
Stand up, fight back!
Otago University was bustling today as a 2-hour stop work meeting turned into a protest against proposed cuts to staffing in response to a massive budget blowout. Tertiary Education Union co-branch President Brandon Johnstone says it's an important debate and was pleased with the large turnout.
Seeing this level of support come out, seeing that people are willing to stand up and say this is not healthy for the university, this is not healthy for Dunedin in its whole, and this is not healthy for the tertiary education sector of New Zealand.
The protesters marched from the Union Lawn to the Clock Tower building, where the University Council was meeting to discuss the likelihood of several hundred redundancies. But it is communicating with the union around its proposals.
So it is encouraging that they are finally coming to the table and having these conversations with us. I do wish it was before they had announced many hundred redundancies.
Johnstone says as long as the University Council decides to go ahead with staff cuts, the collective unions plan to continue their fight back against them. In Dunedin, the South Today.
An increase in people using the water around the Queenstown Lakes district has led to a call for more volunteers to help out. The Queenstown Coast Guard is looking for more female recruits, plus other volunteers to fill specialist roles.
A call out to the ladies. The Queenstown Coast Guard are seeking more volunteers to try and lift the number of females on the first responder crew. Just 4 of the current 30 members are women, with the organisation keen to recruit a range of different people with unique perspectives and strengths. John Quinn is the Vice President of the Queenstown Coast Guard. He says it doesn't matter what gender you are, but they're keen to keep the group as diverse as possible to fill the various roles, both on and off the water.
Lots more jobs other than just working on the boat and being on the boat. So we're looking for different people on shore, for example, manning radios, or in our IMT or incident management team. So we're looking for a range of different people.
Recent recruit Michaela Oliver joined the Coast Guard 3 months ago. She believes it's given her lifelong skills, along with the pride of being able to serve and involve herself more in the community.
And also being involved in the community a bit more, if that's something you're looking at doing. You get to know a whole new group of people, and you're also just serving the community by wanting to do something that gives back in a way.
The volunteer call-out will help boost the Queenstown Coast Guard. The organisation responds to a couple calls each month to assist those in and on the lake, with training sessions once a week to keep the team in top shape. In Queenstown, The South Today.
The long-running saga around a row of derelict central Dunedin buildings finally has a resolution. The rundown buildings on Princes Street have been on death row and were given the go-ahead for demolition this week, ending more than a decade of fighting to save them.
Years of neglect has well and truly taken a toll on these central Dunedin buildings. A 15-year fight to save these worn-out buildings has finally reached the end of the road, with the Dunedin City Council accepting most of them are too dangerous to save. On Tuesday, the DCC granted consent to demolish this row of buildings, including 380, 382 and 386 Princes Street, along with 11 Stafford Street. The heritage-protected facades of 3 Princes Street buildings will be saved, although the buildings behind will be pulled down. However, the fate of 372 to 378 Princes Street is a little more optimistic, with the structures in a better condition, meaning they'll be retained. Council Advisory Services team leader Mark Maudsley says the outcomes ensure at least one of these important heritage buildings is protected for future generations. The DCC has discussed demolition plans with Heritage New Zealand. The consent requires that construction of replacement buildings begins within 2 years of their demolition. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Authentically British food and Union Jack flags were brought out last weekend as New Zealanders celebrated Coronation Weekend. And while the big event itself was taking place in London, a range of royal events were held across Otago and Southland.
Lining up for a right royal feast. High teas were on the menu as towns and cities across Otago and Southland joined in celebration to commemorate the coronation of King Charles III and Queen Camilla. A chorus of God Save the King rang out through the Lake Hawea Community Centre on Friday night, guests dressing up in tiaras, furs and their best dresses for the coronation event.
As he assumes the throne, he takes on the responsibility of leading our people with wisdom, compassion and courage.
King Charles held pride of place in the foyer, while in the kitchen workers were busy preparing baked goods and hot savouries for the fashionable crowd. Meanwhile, Alexandra's high tea even featured the official signature dish of King Charles's coronation.
We have got quiche. A lot of people screwed their nose up at quiche, but anyway, we have quiche, we have sausage rolls, we have cucumber sandwiches, we have little club sandwiches, we have pikelets, cream and jam.
Organisers spent the last fortnight getting everything in place, with almost 27 members coming together to mark the royal coronation.
Majority of them do like it, but we are down in numbers today because there are a few that don't like it. The fact that Camilla is going to be queen when Queen Elizabeth II was not going to make her queen.
Meanwhile, Dunedin residents had a genuine castle to celebrate the big occasion from, with Larnac Castle hosting a right royal post-coronation high tea on Sunday. Guests across the country enjoying being a part of history, as the United Kingdom celebrated its first coronation in 70 years. Across the South Today.
Yakane, still to come on Southern Newsweek. Well, carrying on with the coronation, native trees are planted around the south honouring the new king, and duck hunting season kicks into gear with calm and clear conditions for most. Tinakwe, welcome back. Residents across the south were in high spirits for the coronation of King Charles III and Queen Camilla last weekend. Commemorative native trees were planted in many towns and cities as a long-lasting recognition of the special occasion.
A long-lasting reminder of an historic day. Officials and residents gathering in Invercargill's Ron Petrie New Zealand plant garden to plant a rimu tree on Saturday morning to mark the King's coronation. Invercargill Deputy Mayor Tom Campbell spoke to the crowd and led the shovelling of dirt to secure the newly planted tree in place. This native rimu can grow up to 35 metres tall and could live for hundreds of years for many generations to appreciate.
This tree that we planted, kids are going to come and visit that probably, for the next 70 or 80 years. So it was great seeing young kids here today.
He was only 2 years old when Queen Elizabeth II was crowned, when the tradition was to hand a silver coin to a baby. He still has the coin that was put in his pram 70 years ago. Southern mayors noted King Charles III is known for his commitment to conservation and sustainability, with residents sharing their confidence about the new monarch.
He's going to make a very good king because he's got a different view of the world, which I love.
This is the Scotch thistle and the daffodils and also the rose, the red rose, that is actually for the coronation today.
In Dunedin, around 40 guests gathered at the Dunedin Botanic Garden, with a rimu tree also chosen for the Edinburgh of the South. David Allison, upoko of Kati Huirapa Runaka ki Puketeraki, had the honour of placing the first shovelful of dirt around the tree, followed by other dignitaries and local MPs. And to celebrate the new monarch, Allison led the crowd in a rousing chant of God Save the King. In Invercargill, the South Today.
Royal flags were flying in Rangiora over Coronation weekend as locals there held a street party to celebrate a unique connection to the historic royal event. The town boasts both a King Street and a Charles Street, with residents closing the road at that intersection to party alongside the royal family.
Party time as residents of King Street and Charles Street in Rangiora came together on Saturday to celebrate the coronation of King Charles III. Flags and royal banners flew proudly as residents enjoyed scones and high tea. On the guest list were some high-profile royalists.
We've got English flags everywhere. The streets really come together. We've had sponsorship and support. We've had a whole lot of donations.
Staff from the Waimakariri District Council assisted with traffic management as the road was closed to allow for the neighbourhood street party. Residents were encouraged to write messages for the new monarch and sign up for neighbourhood support.
We were just saying how it's a shame that the neighbours around here don't know each other. And from that we thought, I said we could close the street off, and from there it's brought into this. With the King Charles signs there, it makes it quite obvious that this is a really good opportunity. We won't get another one for a very long time.
Donations on the day were collected for St John Ambulance. In Rangiora, the South Today.
Calm and clear skies made for low bird counts on the opening weekend of duck shooting season last Saturday. But those conditions also made for a pleasant day out in Maimais for hunters, including Southland's Manson family.
Saturday morning beginning with a bang as Southland duck hunting season got underway. Family and friends, young and old, gathered at Maimai across the region for the start of the game bird shooting bonanza. The Manson family have been coming here for well over a decade, now with 3 generations taking part. Grandfather Trevor Manson says for Southlanders, duck hunting season is a big deal.
There's fights, lawyers involved over land sales with duck ponds on it. There's weddings cancelled. There's funerals just about cancelled. You know, you're not even allowed to die on a duck shooting day. It's just about religious.
With around 50 years of duck hunting behind him, he says it's just awesome to now be sharing the day with his son and grandson. As a third-generation duck hunter, 14-year-old grandson Angus Manson says the start of the season is always an exciting occasion.
Probably when you hit your first couple ducks, that's pretty cool. Like when I hit that one this morning, everyone just was in shock. And I'm like, oh, you're not going to hit that. And then
good shock.
Sort of, yeah.
Alongside being an important cultural tradition for a lot of Southlanders, the family say the weekend also provides quality time and a unique opportunity to really connect.
Went through to Maimai, for 2 days straight. It's past small talk. You're talking about everything you possibly can. So the conversations that happen in here, they wouldn't happen elsewhere.
The season runs through until mid-July, with many more ducks to be shot and connections to be made. In Invercargill, the South Today.
And it wasn't just experienced hunters out and about at the crack of dawn, with a younger generation of duck hunters practising their best calls in Invercargill last week.
Duck hunting's a proud tradition in rural Southland, and the kids at Makarewa School have been going all out with a duck calling competition. Teacher and competition organiser Gemma Ferguson-Collett says the annual event started 3 years ago while the pupils were covering the subject of heritage.
This is a big part of a lot of our kids'
culture and identity, and there's so many traditions associated with it, so that's how we started getting involved with this sort of thing, but mainly it's just a lot of fun.
Since then, the school's embraced the start of the game bird hunting season, with kids bringing ducks into class to pluck and cook. She says it's also a great way to celebrate the diverse range of skills often neglected by the regular school curriculum.
You have your kids that shine in lots of other ways, and this is just another way for people to showcase their strengths and talents. So I think that's what's so cool about it. It gives all kids their time in the sun, I guess.
Competition judge Cohen Stewart was impressed with the enthusiasm of the youngsters.
It's very much an important part of the culture and way of life down here in South, and particularly amongst the rural community. So here we've got a rural school, get involved in some duck calling before the season, and it really celebrates this event, which is very important to Southland.
Prizes were on offer for the best mallard, best paradise shell duck and best stag roar. Duck hunting season flies into action on Saturday, with some of these pupils ready to join their families at Mai over the weekend. In Otago, the South Today.
Whai Akane, still to come on Southern Newsweek. A Dunedin woman's found fame on the small screen thanks to a unique talent with latex. And New Zealand was on show in Christchurch as international travel and tourism buyers hit the Trends Expo. Tēnā koe, welcome back. Blowing up balloons is more than just a party for one Dunedin woman. Pip Milford-Hughes works as a balloonologist, creating balloon artworks for children's parties, and is now competing in a nationwide reality TV show.
Pip Milford-Hughes is a woman with a passion for turning latex tubes into beautiful, colourful creations. She works as a children's entertainer and balloon artist, inflating and twisting these special balloons into animals, objects and designs for parties and events. And now she's putting her skills to a serious test as one of 7 competitors on 3's new reality TV show Blow Up, facing off against some of the country's top balloon artists.
I'm a balloonologist. Wanted to be a psychologist, but I'm no good at listening, full of hot air.
Milford-Hughes goes by the name Pippity Pop when she's on the job. She started balloon twisting at just 8 years old, after being mesmerised by a balloon artist at her local AMP show. And when it comes to the latex tubes, she reckons the sky's the limit in terms of creativity.
We can make all sorts of animals, machinery, anything that you can imagine out of balloons.
Competing on the small screen has been an exciting experience. She's relished showing off her creativity, with the artists given tricky challenges and tasked with telling a story around their balloon art.
And the worm that was dabbled down into the water could see that the fish was about to strike, but he knew that below the fish there was a big anglerfish that was going to have him for dinner.
Milford-Hughes is a qualified balloon instructor and has travelled around the world teaching balloon art. She's also coined a new balloon twisting technique, which she calls the Pip Twist and Curl, and offers tutorial videos on her Facebook page for others to try out. Blow Up is currently screening Monday and Tuesday nights on 3, although Pippity Pop is remaining tight-lipped on just how this particular story ends. In Dunedin, the South Today.
The Canterbury region was showcased this week as hundreds of international travel and tourism operators hit town for the annual Trends trade show. Christchurch business leaders say hosting the expo represents another milestone for the city, with hopes the flow-on effects will bolster the region's economic activity.
Canterbury on show to the world. A host of international travel and tourism operators are in town this week as part of the country's largest tourism trade show, Trends. It's been held at the Te Christchurch Convention Centre, with the 4-day tourism business event returning to the Garden City after a 17-year absence. Tourism New Zealand Chief Executive Rebecca Ingram told delegates tourism is not going to look like it did in the past and will take 2 to 3 years before it settles into a normal pattern.
International visitor arrivals over the past few months are sitting at around 66% of pre-COVID levels. With a very strong initial recovery which has plateaued.
More than 1,500 delegates are here. That includes more than 330 international buyers from 25 overseas markets, who were given a taste of some of the best attractions Canterbury has to offer.
Collectively, pre-COVID, travel agents drove about 70% of all international visitors into our city, and in turn through to the South Island. And that represented about $1 billion of spend in 2019 in Christchurch alone.
But it's not just Christchurch operators pitching for bookings, with more than 300 tourism businesses showcasing their products and services and meeting with potential customers. Larnac Castle's marketing manager Deborah Price says their next season is already looking very promising in Dunedin.
We didn't really know what to expect this season, and it exceeded everything that we thought would happen.
The tourism industry generated around $40 billion for the New Zealand economy in 2019. Industry leaders are hoping the Trends Expo will be a springboard for the tourism industry to return to its previous highs. In Christchurch, the South Today.
Pupils at Miller's Flat School are now swinging for joy thanks to a brand new playground equipment. The school's redeveloped playground was officially opened last weekend, celebrating hard mahi by the community.
Miller's Flat School pupils celebrating their new playground with an original song about the small central Otago town. The children were delighted to finally be able to start hanging off the new playground equipment as the $150,000 playground was opened over Coronation Weekend. Members of the school's PTA and Board of Trustees also tested out the swings, the party celebrating their work on the new playground, which was fully funded through grants and community effort, and replaced the school's previously run-down equipment.
The old playground was built by the grandparents of the students that are at the school that we have now, and it's really long past its due date. It was getting a bit rotten, and it didn't comply to the audit.
She says the playground's about more than just play. Co-designed by the school and company playground people, each piece of equipment was selected to help improve core learning skills.
It's specifically been designed to help the children in the classroom. Monkey bars, for instance, is a really good tool for dexterity to help students in the classroom with their handwriting and for manipulating small objects.
The playground is now being enjoyed by the school's 25 current pupils, although Spedding says there's more young people waiting to enrol next year. In Miller's Flat, the South Today.
Miller's Flat, when the people cheer their colours blue and black.
Two dogs with a penchant for escape artistry may soon be famous after their adventures were turned into a children's book. A Gore school teacher has penned the picture book, which launched last week to an appreciative young audience.
A Southland school library filled with eager children and dogs. Bella Ainsley's a teacher at Te Tipua School in Waitane, and in between her daily lessons, she's also written her first children's book, based on true events. Maggie and Otis's adventures follows the story of Ainsley's two pooches and their habit of exploring the nearby hills of Waimumu.
Otis is a little sausage dog and Maggie is a white little fluffy dog, and they go on adventures together. So when we go to school or to work, and we come home, they're gone. And they sometimes stay away for a very long time.
Ainsley says her dog's adventures have often kept her young classroom entertained.
On a Monday when the kids do news and it is my turn, I would say, guess what? And they would all say, have they gone on an adventure again? And yeah, so that's why I decided maybe to write a book about it.
The book stars Maggie and Otis also attended the launch, interacting with the children on their best behaviour. Acting Principal Diane Walker says it was great for the children to see how a book is put together and to demonstrate how anyone can be an author if they put their mind to it. In Waitane, the South Today.
That wraps up this edition of Southern Newsweek. For the latest news and videos from the Southern region, head online to odt.co.nz. And you can follow Channel 39 on YouTube and the South Today NZ on Facebook to catch our news bulletins on demand. We'll see you again next week. Mā te wā.
Public interest journalism funded through New Zealand On Air.